everyone, and welcome back. This Saturday starts the 2021 Long Island Coastal Bioblitz. So I'm sure you guys are wondering what a Bioblitz is. And a Bioblitz is a community science effort in which we attempt to report as many species as possible within a given location and time period. So this Bioblitz is targeting all of Long Island, but we do have some specific type of habitats and areas that we can look for different species. Right now at Worthheim, we're going to highlight some of those habitats here and show you what species you can hang out with. So let's get started. Alright everybody, so before we get to our first habitat, there's a little tidbit that I want to mention. So logs like these are great places to look for all types of different insects and microinvertebrate, and really great place for high full of nutrients. You can find a lot of different species here. Now, you do need to turn the log over, but what you want to do is when you make sure, once you turn that log over, you put it back in its place. Whenever you're observing nature, you want to disturb it as least as possible. And so, just whenever you turn over these logs, make sure you put them back. Alright, you guys, so the first habitat that we're going to highlight today is our saltwater marshes. Now, these type of habitats, you're going to see a lot of wading birds. You may see turtles, like snapping turtles or painted turtles. And right now, we've actually got some swans. And they're so good. So these are the type of species that you want to make note of while you're in this type of habitat. Also note that the species that you make note of are not limited to animal species. You can make note of plant species as well. Now, across the way, I don't see any right now, but one plant species that you might want to make note of is Phragmite. It's also known as a common reed. This is an invasive species as plant. So if you know the difference between our invasive species, which are our non-native species who cause harm to our environment, versus our native species, that is a distinction that you want to make while you're making your observations. Like these swans right here as well, while they're very, very beautiful, are also invasive. And so when you're making your observations about the swans and the different animals you see, always make sure to make a note of that. So here at Worthheim, we have two trails that you can walk. You can walk the Black Tupelo Trail or the White Oak Trail. So when we're walking these trails and observing wildlife, we always want to make sure that we stay on the trails. Now, this is for our safety because it helps us avoid ticks and poison ivy and nasty things like that. But it also helps you to make better observations because when you're observing wildlife, as I said before, you want to make sure you disturb them as least amount as possible. So you don't want to go directly into the wildlife or you may scare away things that you might possibly see. Always remember, the more patient you are, the more you're going to see. Now, let's go check out some more habitats. Alright everyone, so right now on this trail we are in our deciduous forest habitat. Here you're going to see a lot of tall trees, a lot of wood birds, squirrels, maybe some foxes, maybe some deer. And so right now I want to highlight some of the tree species that you might see. Now, this tree right here, if I can get a good leaf of it. Now typically when you are observing, like I said, you don't want to disturb wildlife, so don't pick these leaves, but this tree will be alright with that one. So this cool looking fella almost looks like a dinosaur footprint. This is called sassafras. This is actually the state tree from where I'm from. Some other species here in the forest is we've got this Virginia creeper, is what this species is right here, and a ton more other species. Now, even I, who work at a wildlife refuge, don't know all the tree species or animal species, and that is a-okay because what you'll be using to document all your species is a fun app called iNaturalist. So iNaturalist is super easy to use. All you got to do is snap a picture of the species that you saw, put in your observations, and if you know the species, you can put it. If you don't, that is a-okay because iNaturalist is used all around the world, so we have a lot of different people documenting the species that they see. So there will be options that come up and it'll let you know possibly what species it could be. So regardless of what you see, don't be afraid to take pictures. Even if you don't know what it is, we'll be able to help you out. let's keep. All right, everybody. So the last habitat that we're going to show you here at Wertheim, even though there's many more, is the pine barren habitat. So it's called the pine barren habitat because we have nifty little pine trees like this one right here called the pitch pine, which are super important to keep the ecosystem functioning. So here are what the pitch pine cones look like. They're very small and they're attached directly to their logs and things. And then you can also identify them by their needles. There's 3 pine needles. And so the pitch pine, as we've talked about before, native and invasive species, the pitch pine is a native species. However, there is an invasive species here that is super detrimental to the pitch pine, which is called the southern pine beetle. They burrow inside and they absolutely kill the trees. And so if you look back here, you'll see a whole bunch of logs and debris, which is of the pitch pine that we had to cut down because they were infected with the southern pine beetle. So there's another reason why it's super important that you guys are participating with us on this BioBlitz so we can keep track of invasive species like the southern pine beetle so we can protect our pitch pine. Okay, so the pitch pine isn't the only tree that you'll find here in the Pine Barrens. We have a bunch of oaks and maples here. Some wildlife that you may see are fox turtles. At night you may see raccoons or flying squirrels. So you always want to keep your eye out for everything that you might see. Next, we're going to give you a little bit of a tutorial on how to use iNaturalist. Alright guys, so on our way back we found something really cool, another species that you might see. Here we have an American toad. He's very jumpy, so can't have him in view for too long. So this is an American toad. He is an amphibian. So if you do see an American toad or any type of frogs or amphibians, make sure you don't pick them up because their skin is very, very sensitive. They actually breathe through their skin. So all of the oils or bug spray that you might have on them will seep into them and really injure them.
Alright everyone, so when you first open up iNaturalist, this is the page that should come up. And so before we make any observations, what we want to do is join the LI Coastal Bioblitz project. So to do that, we're going to click on More, we're going to click on Projects. And I've already joined, but if you haven't joined yet, you'll click on the magnifying glass in the right hand corner. And you'll type in LI Coastal Bioblitz. And it should pop up. Then you go ahead and click on that. And there should be a join button for that. And so once you join, that's all you need to do. We can now make our observations. So you want to click on the camera in the middle of the screen that says Observe. And then you go ahead and take a picture of what you're observing. So you want to make sure your picture is nice and in frame. You get a nice, good view of the plant. You may want to put your hand up against it to make it a lot more clear. Like I want to take a good picture of this leaf so they can identify that way. So I like this picture, I'm satisfied with this picture. So we'll go ahead and use that photo. And then if you don't know what it is, you can click on What Did You See? And you can look up the species by name if you don't know. If you already know, and if you don't, it'll have a list of things that it might be. I thought it was common mugwort, which is an invasive plant. And after you've clicked on that, you want to type any observations that you made of the surrounding area. So what I put in here is that there was a lot of this. I also want to make a note that it was invasive. I forgot to put that down when I made this video. However, that is okay because you can always go back and edit if you forgot something. And that is how you use iNaturalist.